sir or madam. Can you spare a few minutes to talk about 009? If you're not familiar with 009, it's the scale gauge combo used to represent narrow gauge railways in 00 scale. For comparison, these are some 009 models. Here is a 00 scale wagon, which you may remember from previous videos. Hi there. It's called 009 because while the scale is the same as 00, the track gauge is 9mm, which is the same as N gauge. This scales out to 2 foot 3 inches, which is exactly right if you're modelling the Talyllyn or Corris railways. But it tends to get used for any railway that is around 2 foot, so the Festiniog, Welsh Pool and Land Fair, all that lot. It's become more popular in recent years, and I think there's a number of reasons for that. One is that it requires a whole lot less space, so I think it's very attractive for micro layout builders. Another is that we're now starting to see ready-to-run stuff. This is a Bachmann War Department open wagon. Pico produced some rolling stock. Hellion I think I'm pronouncing that right, Hellion produce a number of Linton and Barnstaple locomotives. Mini Trains, who do a lot of continental prototypes, have recently started producing 009 locomotives. And there's a number of smaller suppliers who've been getting into the game. Fordies, for example, are a small supplier that does ready-to-run 009, and that makes it all just a lot easier to get started. Pico have also started producing sectional track, which is easy to lay and makes it just makes it easier to build your layout, really. Because the thing is, 009 used to be what I would call a modeller's scale. So you had to sort of build everything yourself. And that seems to be changing. Another innovation which has made it a lot easier to get into 009 is this little thing. This is the Cato 11103 chassis, just in case you couldn't read that there. This is a compact, smooth running, and above all, inexpensive chassis. N-gauge mechanisms have historically tended to be quite expensive, and they were often unreliable. So if you wanted to get into 009, you not only had the expense of a kit, but you would have to you'd have to get a chassis from somewhere or make your own. Again, modeller's scale. But this has made it just a lot easier to get started. I mean, it's quite basic. I will say that it's quite a basic chassis, but that hasn't stopped a lot of modelers. In fact, this here actually runs on one of these. It scales out quite large for narrow gauge, and I can illustrate that with this coach here. This is a Parkside Dundas, as was then. Parkside Dundas has since split up, but the models are still in production. This is kind of like your typical Welsh slate railway sized coach, and as you can see, this is considerably larger. But that's okay. You'd often get this on narrow gauge railways. Narrow gauge railways varied in size, and if they acquired stuff from other railways, you would often get this kind of this difference in scale. If you go to the Festiniog railway, you compare their more modern engines with their Victorian coaches, and it looks like that basically. But this engine also illustrates another point that I wanted to make, which is 3D printing. It's 3D printing is a fairly new innovation to the model railway world, but it seems to be kind of revolutionizing things. Because it means that it's possible to make models of esoteric or freelance prototypes without investing thousands and thousands in tooling. So at the time of writing, Rails and Dapol have been collaborating on a Southeastern and Chatham Railway box van that's 3D printed. Probably way too obscure for any of the big manufacturers to model conventionally, but it's a lot more. It's a much more attractive proposal if you're 3D printing, and yeah. So what you're getting is a lot of kind of cottage industries that are producing these 3D printed body shells that fit onto a ready to run chassis. This is available on Shapeways. This is by a chap who goes by the name TB. These are very inexpensive body shells. I've added some detailing to mine. I've put some detailing in the cab there, if this will focus. Come on. So yeah, that whole engine cost me less than 50 quid, which would have been unthinkable at one time. Let me show you a couple of other things I've got. Now these here kind of illustrate what I was talking about in terms of esoteric subjects. So this is a car from Volks Electric Railway in Brighton, which is a railway I'm very fond of. It's very worth a visit. Might even do a video on it later, who knows. But no ready-to-run manufacturer would be interested in doing that, I don't think. But 3D printed, it's fine. You can do that. Fits onto the old Kato chassis. Now this one here is this is a much smaller prototype. This is a Kerr Stewart Wren, which was a popular industrial locomotive. This one was produced by, I believe the chap goes by Tyneside Models. And it fits on this chassis here, which is absolutely minuscule. I mean, you know, that's it next to my hand, and you have to bear in mind that I have quite small hands. So, to sum up, 009 has in recent years gone from a somewhat niche scale gauge combo, popular only with serious modelers and masochists, to something that anybody can dip their toe into. If you don't mind spending a bit of money, you've got your ready-to-run stuff. If you don't want to spend too much money, you can get easy-to-assemble kits, like this one and this one. 3D printed on ready-to-run chassis. Of course, there's still a range of the old kits available, and all in all, this is a scale gauge combo that's looking pretty healthy at the moment. You know what? I actually have a 009 layout. Maybe I should show that to you. Next video maybe. Next video.